This whole company was founded on accidents. And why wouldn't it continue accidentally? Because I told him, I was like, this is either the beginning of something great or the beginning of the end. Because we had failed so many times and it had just gotten to the point where we were really putting ourselves through a lot emotionally, physically, mentally, that it just got to the point where it's either the beginning of something great or the beginning of the end.
Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppin'. I'm your host, Dan Hoppin', and cookies are great. Donuts are wonderful, but have you ever thought what would happen if you brought those two and combined them into one baked good? That was something that my mind could have conceived of. But thankfully, the two people who are sitting next to me are wiser than me, and they figured out a way to not only make this work, but to make it gluten-free, so it's inclusive for everyone. That is the owner of OCookieOs, Nicole Taff, and her son Vincent Rissell. They were on the show a couple years ago, back in early 2023, but a lot has changed with OCookieOs, and you guys are back. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks. We're excited to be back, Dan. I can't believe it's been that long.
March 9th of 2023 is actually, so almost 3.5 years ago. A lot has changed, but especially recently, because as we record this today on July 20th, your brick-and-mortar shop off 168th and Center opened just over a month ago. It's still very new. You guys don't even have signage yet. It's still under the Cafe Botanica signage, although hopefully that's changing soon. What has it been like having a shop and having, like, after so many years of owning and operating this business, now you have a brick and mortar?
It's really surreal. A lot of the time, me and my mom were like, it doesn't feel real yet. So like every day we go in, it really does feel like we're living in something that we work so hard on for so long, and it really doesn't feel real yet.
And it's like being a brand new company all over again because there's so many people in that area that are just discovering us for the first time. So it's like being brand new, but also it's like we've worked, like Vinny said, so hard for the last 5 years to have this culmination of our work finally be here. It is surreal.
I mean, how odd is that? Like, you guys have been hustling for more than 5 years. You've done pop-ups, you've done farmers markets, you've done wholesale, you're in coffee shop, like you've done all this stuff, and to still, like, now you're in a new part of town and have like this whole new swath of people who's just like, what is this? What's going on here? And then hopefully they come away delighted after they try it. Like, that just has to be wild that you have this huge customer base that you've built up online or in farmers markets, and now there's just this whole new group of people that's just like, oh, we've got a new audience to cater to here.
That's awesome. It's like being brand new again. It reignites that passion and that drive and that, oh my gosh, how can we make it better? How can we make it better? How can we make those people, those first timers, come back? Like, and that kind of has reignited, I think, a whole another.
100%. I mean, most of the time I'm running the register, or my mom is. She's the baking genius, so a lot of the time she's mixing in the back. I'm baking up front. You can watch the whole process, and people come in and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it smells so good. What are you?" And they just get so excited, and like I'm really excited because I'm like, this doesn't even feel real. So I'm explaining it to them, and they're like, "Wow, you're really passionate about it. Like, are you just like a cashier?" I'm like, "Oh no, me and my mom are." And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like
Yeah.
really surreal.
Are you a franchise? Is one of the questions we get a lot, and we're like, no, it's just us. It's literally just us, and my husband delivers on Fridays. So yeah, it's been a whole new adventure.
Okay, well, if somebody who's watching or listening to this is like those people and they're meeting OCookieOs for the first time, on a roll at the red carpet for you guys, what is your product and what makes it special?
Okay, well, thank you, Dan. We appreciate the red carpet treatment any day of the week. We are OCookieOs. What makes it special is that it's uniquely its own thing. This was developed when Vinny's brother Naudis developed a sensitivity to gluten way back in 2020, which seems like yesterday, but also seems like 100 years ago.
Right.
I was trying to make a gluten-free donut for him when he wanted just a gluten-free donut, and he found out at 16 he had already had everything that he couldn't have some of the things that he loved anymore. And so I was like, okay, well, how can I make this happen for my son? And we had tried all the like one-to-one gluten-free flours, and then I was like, well, they didn't like any of those, so I tried grinding up like rice, and then landed on oats, and then found out that oats aren't always gluten-free. So we learned a lot about the gluten-free kind of world in a very short amount of time just to make that gluten-free donut for my son. I still can't make a gluten-free donut. This is as close as we ever gotten. It's a cookie and a donut. It's a little bit of both. It's not really either. It's uniquely its own thing. It's an OCookieO. I mean, if you've had them, and I think our.
Many times.
What do you think, Vin?
Well, also, it's really true to the name about a cookie and a donut. A lot of the time when I'm explaining the texture to people, they're so intrigued. And it's just like a cookie on the top because it has that crunch from the almond flour. But since we use coconut flour in addition, it gives it that cakiness. So it's kind of like a cake donut on the bottom and then a cookie on the top. And then people are like, okay, give me a 4-pack. And I'm like, awesome. Try it for yourself and let me know. And then they're usually back.
The thing that is most impressive is this isn't true of all, and I think that gluten-free baking has advanced a lot in the last couple years, but I still have a lot of gluten-free products where it's either dense or it's gummy, and it's pretty evident. Like if you set a gluten-free product and a non-gluten-free product next to each other, have me taste test each one, I could tell you pretty easily which is which. I don't find that to be the case with OCookieOs. Like I love the texture and the consistency. You don't have to give me any secrets or anything, but how did you kind of avoid those common gluten-free pitfalls and achieve something that people who are used to the gluten-free lifestyle and those who aren't enjoy at equal levels?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. It's taken us, I like to kid with Vinny, it's taken us 5 years to get it right because we have had that product that was dense or gummy, but Vinny is the oldest of 4 boys, and I was trying to make something for them that they would all enjoy so I didn't have to be a short order cook and make multiple things all the time, you know? So the thing was trying to make something that they would all enjoy, and it is taking so many iterations and it's evolved. I mean, even from 2023 when we were first on, it has completely changed, and it's been because my boys have been so, blunt to be simple. It's so blunt to be like, this isn't it. This isn't good enough. This I don't want to eat that. So I mean, we've changed so many times, like, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, messing with the ratios, to try to make something that everyone can enjoy, like yourself. And it's so rewarding to hear someone say, I can't tell the difference, because that's the whole goal.
That, but also almond flour. I like to make the joke with people that might be new to gluten-free baking or want to give it a try. I'm like, if you have an afternoon and you just want to make yourself mad, try baking with almond flour for the first time because in the process of the recipe evolving so much, we've probably threw like thousands of like cookies in the trash or given them to Ted and Wally's or given them out as free mess ups because sometimes the almond flour will simply just not be having a good day. Like the cookie and the donut will just separate. The cookie, like there's been rare occasions where the cookie donut will be hollow inside because the almond flour, it's kind of like similar to like a macaron where sometimes they're hollow. The elevation, the weather, so many things that now finally we've gotten the recipe to a point with the binding agents that we use that it's the best it's ever been.
It's the best it's ever been. But I mean, there's so many variables. Like you said, almond flour is a finicky beast. It's very weather affected. Like it can be humidity, it can be too cold, it can be this, it can be that. And it's chemistry. I mean, if you want to just go down to the actual like molecular level, it is honestly just chemistry, and getting your ratios right has been one of the hardest parts of this journey. And when we took out the protein powder because of supply issues and cost and things like that, the replacing that ingredient, I think we in the last 5 years have never wanted to quit more than we had in those 3 months.
And when was this?
Basically, April was kind of the biggest part. So February through March,
Oh, wow.
April, yeah. So February, March, April, May. So yeah, up until about May, it took us to get it right. Because one of our suppliers, it went up to like a 40,000 pound MOQ, so minimum order quantity, and then we had already had issues for the last 3 years with suppliers, either going out of business or the pricing going up. So we're like, you know what? Maybe it's just a sign. Maybe we're just need to focus on being the best gluten-free cookie donuts that we can actually produce, opposed to trying to be a protein cookie donut. Because when you have that in your branding, like in 2020, 10 grams, 10 to 15 grams of protein was a lot. But now it's like you can get that in water with 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 calories, and 30 grams of protein. We can't compete with that. And then with the supply issues, we're like, you know what? Maybe it's just time that we just focus on producing the best possible product that we can and not worry so much about that protein, because we can't compete in that field anymore anyway. So it's like, well, let's make something the best that we can make it. And that's kind of where we are. But yeah, we threw away 80% of what we did, probably April and May.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you guys made that pivot. And I think, fingers crossed, that America is starting to get wise that protein is just, yes, protein is amazing, but protein in marketing has basically become a buzzword now. I mean, I was walking through the grocery store the other day and there's protein Pop-Tarts and protein cereal. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? You can't have like 3 grams of protein and market yourself as a protein product. So even if you were, even if you had found a way to dial in that recipe and it was still that much protein and you marketed it that way, I almost feel like people are getting desensitized to that. So to drop that out, I really don't even know if it's such a big deal.
Well, I mean, and they still have 6 to 11 grams of protein, which
Right.
is still a lot for like a cookie or a donut. But it's like, we're not going to focus on that. We're just going to focus on, you know what? It's a surprise. Oh, wow, it has some protein in it. Great, if that's what you're looking for. But if you're looking just for a good gluten-free alternative, that's a good treat that you can actually enjoy, or your kids can enjoy, then that's what we want to do. Because we've had a lot more before. People were like, well, you're not really a kid's cookie, right? Because it was the protein. And that was true for some kids, but some kids absolutely loved it. But now, like, there's more like moms coming in saying my child couldn't have anything at the party, or they couldn't have anything when we went here or there, and so they came to us and they were like, oh my gosh. We had a little girl crying in the car.
On our grand opening, it was like it really touched our hearts because the grand opening was such a long day, and I made a post about it too. But like our oven, the first oven we got, the glass shattered. The first mixer we got, the paddle,
Didn't fit.
yeah, it was the wrong attachment.
No.
So it all happened within 1 week. And on top of that, we had the farmer's market in the morning. So it was already a really long day. And then to hear a compliment that sweet really made us realize what we're doing the right
It
thing.
reminds you why you're doing it.
Exactly.
So I'd chatted with you about this, Vincent. I knew that you guys had changed the recipe to some extent. I didn't realize how significant this was and how much stress it was causing you. Now, your shop opened on June 13th, and now hearing that like your most stressful time was March, April, maybe even into the beginning of May. I mean, that's right before you're opening the shop. I don't know when you signed the lease, but I'm assuming it was pretty soon around that time. What, like, where were your stress levels in the, like, combined that this is the most difficulty you've had baking in years with, oh, we're committed to opening this shop now. We got to figure this out. Like, how did you guys stay sane during that time?
The craziest part of that, I mean, I really think, is that like like at the end of May, or beginning of May, we went to California. We had a vacation, which was well needed. And I think we just kind of had some like time to like just kind of rethink. Me, I'm a visual, like mentally visual person. Like I'll like see things in my mind. I'm like, okay, well, if I do this, if I do that, and then I'll try to like do it, work through it physically or with hands on. But we had that mental break. And then when we got back, Vincent was like, Mom, you've built this from scratch. You know what you're doing. Just do what you normally do. Like, let the ancestors speak. Like do what you normally do. And then like the ratios finally got it. And like coincidentally, or I don't know how it happened, but right before we signed the lease, which was June 1st, we had got it right. And although we have changed probably at least still 5 times then, but we had gotten to a place where we're like, all right, you know what? It's not hollow. It's not falling apart. It's not where it was. It was actually at a really good spot. And we joked that like when it had the protein, we couldn't like eat a full one all the time because it was just so much of a meal replacement. And now we're like craving it every day. We're like looking forward to eating one every day because like we can eat the whole thing. And I'm like, I'm not sharing it with you anymore
Exactly.
because I can eat the whole thing. But it was really weird how the stars just sort of aligned. Like it was almost like meant to happen because we were looking at the space for over a year
Hmm.
and the stars just weren't aligned at the time when we initially looked at it. And this year, when everything just sort of fell into place, and even though like we had probably the worst 3 months out of the 5 years that we'd been doing this, it just all came together like so perfectly that it was like, all right, this is what we are meant to be doing. Like, yeah, because it was all of that, you got to go through a lot of hard trials, sometimes to actually like be tested to see if it's something that you're like, I don't know, fully committed to or able to do but yeah, we got put through the test.
Yeah, I'll touch on that too. During that time, we were working overnights, and we
Mhm.
had been working overnights for a really long time. So we would start baking at like 5 or 6 p.m., and then we would go anywhere from 2 to like 8 a.m. So on top of that, you're already going against your body's like natural system of like wanting to be up with like your circadian rhythm and everything. But when you're going to work every single day and then it's just constantly failing, because we love failure because that's what pushes you further. But every single day, it was kind of just like a running joke because like now our hair is fine. But during that time, we were both losing hair like crazy. I mean, I'm 25. I was getting a lot of grays. It was a very, very stressful time. And the recipe, no matter how many different trial and errors we did, it just did not want to compute because we thought, oh, we can just substitute the protein with some more flour. No. Like our recipe does not make any sense at all. Like it truly doesn't. And we were just Googling. We're like, okay, this is what we're seeing, like, other people do. Let's try this. And it was just like, okay, we just have to go back to the basic recipe that we all started along with and try to make it make sense. And somehow it finally came together, but it was a very stressful part. And a lot of businesses do fail after about 5 years, I think, is what the statistics are. And me and my mom were having a lot of hard conversations like, is this the end for OCookieOs? Like, what are we gonna do? Because it was just like nothing is working. But
Yeah.
it all worked out in the end, but it was a very, very stressful time.
Yeah, it was. And then we just happened to be at the store. I was out of almond flour, and I was like, you know what? Let's try something else because the oat flour is getting too dense. And so we tried coconut flour. I was like, well, that's still a light flour. Maybe we can. And then over several more iterations, we've kind of got the ratios right. We was able to finally have the protein removed, or completely removed, but not be hollow or have it fall apart. So, I mean, now our recipes are all almond and coconut flour. So that was kind of the accidental find. Like this whole company was founded on accidents. And why wouldn't it continue accidentally? Because I told him, I was like, this is either the beginning of something great or the beginning of the end. Because we had failed so many times and it had just gotten to the point where we were really putting ourselves through a lot emotionally, physically, mentally, that it just got to the point where it's either the beginning of something great or the beginning of the end. And whatever happens is what's meant to happen. And we had both kind of gotten ourselves to a level of peace with that fork in the road because we didn't know in May which way it was gonna go.
Well, I'm really sorry that you guys had to go through that.
Oh no,
That
no,
sounds
no.
No, it's
absolutely
okay.
awful.
This is what's been born from that.
I'm very happy with the end result because the consistency is so much better. And I was a fan before, but I think you guys can see in my purchasing habits. Like, I've been a fan for years,
Yeah.
but I used to get OCookieOs when I would see you guys at the farmer's market, or I'd go to a random coffee house and be like, oh, they sell OCookieOs here, or oh, I'm passing by Godega, maybe I'll get one. But it wasn't something I was actively like seeking out. Now, I think since you guys have opened the shop, I think I've been a weekly purchaser either stopping in or Sarah's stopped in, and yeah, we have become even more devoted fans because it's just even that much better now. So but it's crazy to hear like how you guys were like, you said it's either going to be the greatest thing ever or the beginning of the end. Like here you are thinking about, hey, we're going to open a shop. We're finally going to get that brick and mortar that we've been dreaming about for years. But are we even going to be a company? And like, there's no in between. Like it's either the highest of highs or this is it. And like, that's just crazy to hear that it was either going to be the greatest or nothing. And here you are. It's the greatest.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that, and your validation, and seeing you regularly and seeing you post that, you're 25% of OCookieOs now, has been really like motivating as well. We're like, okay, well, Dan likes it, and we've had a lot of newbies, a lot of new OCookieO fans come in, and they're now coming in once or twice a week as well. And we're
Good.
like, hey,
Yes.
maybe,
doing something right.
we're getting it right, and it just makes us so happy that we were able to go down this side of the road and not the other,
Mhm.
because it had gotten to the point where we're like, how much more can we put ourselves through?
Yeah.
But now it's that culmination of everything working out and not giving up and putting in the effort and the hard work that actually has this sort of, oh, I don't know, not trophy at the end, but the
The like silver lining.
the silver lining and the validation and the feedback and the people actually saying, yes, we love what you do. We're coming back twice a week for this, and that sort of is like a proverbial pat on the back, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Okay, well, let's create some more fans by talking about the product itself. You guys will always have two flavors, the O Monstro, which is a peanut butter chocolate combination, and the O Chipio, which is basically your version of a chocolate chip cookie. And then you'll also have two rotating flavors and a special flavor, two rotating flavors of the month and a special flavor of the week. But I mean, I in preparation for this, I was going back through my website, I was going back through your socials. I mean, there are a lot of OCookieOs out there. Like I was trying to come up with a flavor combination that I hadn't seen, and I was really struggling. Do you know how many varieties, how many flavors you've created
Well,
since you started this?
We stopped counting after 60.
yeah, that's our joke. People like ask, we're like, we just stopped counting because over the last 5 years, we've developed so many, and a lot of it's just come from either requests or our personal cravings. Like the almond chocolate, dark chocolate cherry was just like a trail mix I like to eat, and I was like, this should be a flavor. Or the maple bacon, that one was like the last bite on the plate. And I was like, you know what, this should be a flavor, because as a mom, when you're making pancakes for 4 boys, sometimes there's no batter left at the end, so you get that little bite, off of one of the plates with the caramelized bacon and the pancakes. And we're like, this should be a flavor. So some of them just kind of come out of nowhere, honestly, or requests like the Dan Hoppin, like the Hoppino, the dark chocolate mint. Those are
I haven't had that in so long, and like going back and looking at pictures of it, and I was with Sarah and I were even talking about it, and I was like, I forgot that it had Oreos in it. It's Oreos, Andes mints, and dark chocolate. Like for a mint chocolate lover, that's like heaven.
right.
So whenever that does come back, I'm not asking for it, but if it ever does, I would not complain.
You will be the first to know.
Yes. uh, those two flavors that we talked about, the staples, the O Chipio, the O Monstro, as you kind of move to this new model of having these monthly flavors, why were those the two like staples that these are the ones that are always going to be available?
Ooh, because if we don't make those, there will be people at our door asking us, or the wholesalers especially, because they go through those the quickest. What do you think?
Well, that plus like at the farmer's market, the first thing that usually sells out is the O Monstro, even though we specifically make more of it than anything else. It's usually always the first thing to go, like no matter how much I bake. So it's so popular that we just simply can't get rid of it. And who doesn't love a classic chocolate chip cookie?
That's true.
Yeah. It it's funny. We were talking, well actually no, we were talking about coconut, not oatmeal, but like I love monster cookies, but I'm not a big oatmeal person, so my least favorite part is the oatmeal. You guys basically took that out and you're just like, here's a peanut butter cookie with M&Ms and chocolate chips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in. It's fantastic. What are your personal favorite flavors?
I really like the coconut. That we're making it this week as a one-off. We haven't had it for so long. I love coconut dark chocolate, so that's one of my favorites. Um, I don't know, and Monster honestly too. And Vinny's been the one who's like, "Mom, you gotta take the oats out of that." Not everyone likes oats, and now it's completely oat free because there's a lot of people that can't actually process oats. So that's just been taken out completely. So you're not alone with that sentiment. But what about you? What's your favorite?
The Oscaccio, the turtle cheesecake. Oh, that was so bad. I would eat
It's
like
good.
2 a day when we had it on the menu. And then also right now is the s'mores because I absolutely love the smoky sugar and then the marshmallows.
Yeah, and that smoky sugar we actually get from Timbo's because I seen your write up on it. Well,
Uh-huh.
you're like, I don't know if I'm imagining it, you know. And then my nephew thought it was liquid smoke, but it's actually we use Timbo's smoked cinnamon sugar.
He's a local
Yeah.
spice maker, makes rubs and stuff. Find him in a lot of farmers markets. But yeah, it was weird. I was eating it and I was like, is my brain just like doing some psychology thing where just because I associate s'mores with smoke, as I'm like tasting s'mores, I'm just imagining there's smoke. And then it was I think it was you, Vincent, or it was Timbo himself, I think, commented and said something about it. And I was like, oh, I'm not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am crazy, but not in this sense, at least.
We got you covered.
See, your palate is so fine that it was able to feel it. But
God knows that's not true. Do you guys have a white whale flavor? Like one that you haven't created yet, but you really, maybe you haven't had the time to, but you really want to create it, or you've tried to make it and it's 70, 80% of the way there, but you just can't quite get it right. Is there a flavor like that?
Yes. The one flavor that I did that I really wanted to happen, I've only tried it once or twice, and Bree from Bree's Bakery was there right next to me. This was when we were neighbors. And I was really trying to make a Thai tea white chocolate happen. And my parents were at the farmer's market and it was in the oven. And literally, we heard this loud explosion. The whole tray, like the whole 6 pan of cookies, exploded all over the oven. And Bree was like, "What was that?" And we opened the oven, it was just covered in Thai tea. So I haven't had time to do any more development on that. But whenever people ask me that question, it's my favorite story to tell because it was such a funny day.
you notice that you mentioned I wasn't there that day.
Yeah.
We haven't tried that one again. Or that or a mango too.
Oh, yeah.
Like a mango.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, we've messed with it a little bit, but trying to make it not like too fruity, but just like a hint, like a little mango, but then plus with the Thai tea too is sort of in that think tank sort of development.
Is there a flavor? Obviously, anything that you guys create and put on the menu, you're proud of and you think is going to sell, or else you wouldn't have put it on the menu anyway. But is there a flavor that surprised you in the way the public responded to it? Like, oh, we'll try this one out. Maybe it'll do okay, and everybody's just like, yes, give us more of that one.
I guess the orange creamsicle, because the last year that we had it in 2025, it wasn't super popular. But when we brought it back last month in June, it was actually a lot more popular than ever before. But other than that, I can't really think of any
I
other
was gonna
flavors.
say the maple bacon
Oh, yeah, that too.
because that one was either love or hate it. Like people are like, ugh, gross. How would you do that? Why would you do that? And then we have other people like, please keep that one on the menu all year. And we're like, yeah, because you have it's it's very compartmentalized with the cookie flavor fans. I don't know how else to say that. Like you have some people that absolutely love it and they're like ride or die for that flavor to the end, and then you have a whole segment of people who are like, why would you even make that? Like, don't put that on the menu. So it's some of those flavors like really creates a distinction between our customers.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, people should come into the storefront now. It's located, like I said, off a little bit off 116th and Center, kind of in that shopping plaza.
171st.
171st, yes.
Mhm.
The main intersection, yeah, a little bit, yeah. 171st and Center. If somebody else is listening to this and they live downtown, they live in another part of town, or they can't make it out to the shop, what are some other ways that they can get their hands on OCookieOs?
They can visit any of our local retail partners. I made a map. I'm very proud on the website that shows all of our wholesale partners, um, as well as we do a local delivery on Fridays in a 25-mile radius of the shop. So most of the Omaha metro is covered. Unfortunately, we don't cover Council Bluffs anymore, but
Unless you go to Jay's coffee shop.
oh yeah, that's true.
But we do deliver to over 20 coffee shops. And like Vinny said, he made a map. If you go to our website, you can find all of our locations.
It's right there.
There you go.
And it is very beautiful. Good work.
Thank you,
Right.
thank you.
And what farmers markets?
So for the Omaha Farmers Market, we're a fill-in, so I will always post on our story when we'll be there, as well as we're in the night market in Midtown the last Friday of August, so August 28th, I believe. And then actually the day after this comes out, August 7th, we'll be at Beats and Bites in Heartwood Preserve.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Nice. That's a really cool little Friday night farmers market that just popped up a couple months ago. But I've been to it a couple times. It's a lot of fun. I think you guys will do really well there.
It'll be our first time, so we're excited. We're excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Let's get into the backstory. We've dipped our toe into the backstory. I guess we probably hit on some of the most important parts, but I want to go a little bit deeper. Nicole, you were a home baker before any of this started. What drew you to baking originally?
My mom, my grandma. Like I used to watch my grandma bake when I was a kid. Never had a recipe, never like had anything written down. She would just make magic out of powders. Like from a young kid's perspective, it was just I would see her just add a little of this, a little of that, and then taste it and be like, no, 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 a little of this, a little of that. And so it was just watching my mom and her, especially around the holidays, they would have like a whole counter just full of treats and bites and a whole assembly line. Think of like Lucy in the cookie shop where, you're covering the pretzels or you're making fudge or chocolate covered peanuts and things like that. So they would always like have this it's home to me. Like baking was just home to me. It was more of a cathartic sort of thing where you have to focus on something and then all of your efforts create something that everyone can enjoy, at least in the family. So this it all started just from kind of watching them and being amazed with what they could do with a few ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of how it started. And for my boys, Vinny, like I said, is the oldest of four. I would always make cookies or muffins or just whatever it was, especially in the summertime, or then it's around 2020 when we were always home. I was constantly baking, and then that's when his brother started developing issues, and we were trying to figure out what it was. And he was like, "Well, whenever I eat cookies or cupcakes, he would tend to break out and have some issues." So that was kind of what started this whole "what's gluten free?" I don't know. I've always used flour. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started for me. And friendship bread, honestly, is one of those things that I was amazed by when I was a kid. So yeah, just being in the kitchen as a mom, honestly.
I know you spent, and obviously, like, we're not talking about the finished OCookieOs recipe because that evolved so many times and
Mhm.
is still evolving.
Correct.
But when you were originally experimenting and trying to figure out how can I create something for my son that he can safely enjoy, I know you spent about 6 months before, and I don't even know how many iterations before you landed on something. Yeah. How did you persevere through that time? Because I I'm not a parent yet, but I can only put myself in those shoes and be like, I would be willing to try that a certain number of times, but there would reach a point for me where I'd be like, okay, I'm Googling gluten-free bakers and I'll go buy them for my kid, not do all this. What gave you the perseverance to push through and just keep searching, keep searching, keep searching?
Well, not luckily, but luckily it was 2020.
Oh, that's
So we
true.
were stuck at home. And I have four boys, and they wanted snacks, and I wanted to make something that they could all enjoy, so trying to make a donut and all of the failures weren't horrible failures. Everyone was still eating whatever it was. It was like a biscotti almost, or it was like a biscuit or whatever it was. Scott always likes to joke, yeah, I put on 20 pounds during that time. I'm like, no, you didn't. But anyways, we like had so many different iterations that finally we got to the point where they were sort of getting sick of me, like, trying and changing and trying and changing, that the youngest, who is 8 now, Xavier, he was walking around calling them Tookios. Like, "Oh, it's," he couldn't quite say his C's yet, so he was like, "Oh, Tookio, Tookio," and we're like, "Oh, it is a Cookio." And, their friend, like, "It's good enough. It's great. Leave it like it is," and then we just started making those over and over. And if you look at our feed from, I mean, it's all journaled from 2020 to now. They look completely different. Like, they don't even look like the same thing anymore. But it was just, instead of persevering, it was just more like an evolution. It just kept evolving from there. We had something that everyone sort of liked and enjoyed, but in my mind, I'm like, this isn't what it is. Like, this isn't the final. This is, I'm like, I can make that a little better. I can make it a little better. I can make it a little better. Or I'd get a little feedback. They're like, yeah, that one was kind of dry, or that one was a little this, or not enough of that. And I'm like, okay, well, let me see what I can do to change that, and just mess with the ratios over and over and over. And I still am. I'm getting to the point where, like, this week I didn't make any changes. So I'm like, okay, maybe after 6 years, 5 years. But, it just got to that. It wasn't necessarily a persevering for me. It was more of a challenge to make something that all the feedback was, can you do that again? Can you make that again? And not, it was a little this or it was a little that. It was just finally at the point where just make that again. Um, and again, like I said, we had time. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of,
That plus I'll say in addition, Nodis, the whole reason we made the company, is very, very picky.
don't say that online. You don't like hearing that.
But that is one of the main drivers of the company, quite frankly, because in 2021, 2020, when we started the company, gluten-free CPGs and gluten-free options in the Omaha metro and nationwide have grown so far in the last 5 to 6 years. But at the time, we were trying to find options for Nodis that he actually enjoyed. And thankfully, not thankfully, since he just has a sensitivity, he just gets rashes and discomfort in his stomach. So he can still eat gluten. He just bears through the discomfort. But my mom's main thing was that she wanted to find an option that he wouldn't have to suffer through those things. And that's what really pushed OCookieOs, was making an option that he would eat and actually enjoy, and he wouldn't put himself through those symptoms just to have something that was familiar to him.
Vincent, seeing your mom go through so many iterations and keep pushing through and not give up or just say, okay, well, this is good enough. Everyone accepts it or whatever. What did you learn about your mom during that time?
Well, my mom was a single mom for a very long time, so she never like showed like failure. It's like the end. She's always been a very resilient person, like all the women in my family have been. So she was a very long line of that. And I mean, one recipe wouldn't be great. I knew that she was gonna get back in the kitchen. She wasn't just gonna give up.
So you're making these for the family. They're really liking them. Son's not getting rashes or anything. These are safe. Where does the thought, hey, maybe this isn't just for my family, but maybe we have a chance to sell these? When does that come into the equation?
well, I think when his little brother was walking around calling them Tookios, and I was like, oh, it is a cookie. And I did some research, and there wasn't a cookie donut out there. Like, you couldn't find one. I was like, oh, maybe we could make something out of this. And I looked up the name, and it wasn't used like anywhere. So I was like, maybe that's a sign. And then after we started giving it to family, we made like a little website or whatever. And I was like, hey guys, we made a website. And they're like, okay, well, let us get some of your cookies, whatever. And then we started taking it to family things. And then the family was like, these are really good. You should try maybe selling them, somewhere. And I'm like, you think, like really? And then we took it to, I just Googled the closest coffee shops in my area, which at the time happened to be 13th Street, and then another one that's no longer in business. And we took them some samples. I was like, hey, do you want to add this gluten-free option to your menu? Because they didn't have any. And they're like, yeah, sure, bring them some samples. We'll taste them. And then within 2 days, 13th Street Coffee and Tea called me. And she's like, how quickly can you get these to me? And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, they're absolutely divine. Like, when can you get these? And I was like, I can get them there by the week. And then I did some research and found out that as a cottage baker, baking from home, you couldn't sell wholesale to other businesses. So I had to figure out really quick how to get into a commercial kitchen. And that's when we moved over to Council Bluffs and was in kitchen council. And we were able to get that turned around within like 30 days. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was
How did you find Kitchen Council?
Google. Because there was only at the time, I don't know how many there are now, but there's only like 3 really that you had options to go to for shared commercial spaces. And they were the ones that were the quickest to call me back, to answer my emails, get a tour, and give me a list of things that I needed to proceed with that membership. And so, yeah, so we was able to get in there fairly quickly and start delivering. And then once we were in one coffee shop, I was like, well, let's Google other coffee shops and see who else needs to add a gluten-free option to their menu. Who else has clients or customers that are underserved or that are coming in with no options. Like, how can I help get this out to someone that can enjoy, a cookie or a donut amongst their colleagues or friends that are all enjoying pastries, but they might not be able to. Who else can I call to see if we can serve? And now we're up to about 20 coffee shops that we serve locally, and they're all awesome. Like, we love our vendors. They've been ride or die since day one, and yeah, they've been awesome, helping us get our name out.
So I want to talk a little bit about that Kitchen Council experience. Kitchen Council is a shared commissary kitchen where I don't know how many it is now, but at its peak, 10, 12 different concepts all operated, and you can go and you can do all your cooking, all your baking there, and then take it out and sell it to the public. Basically, it's the law if you're creating a specific amount or if you're selling in a certain place, but B, it allows you to make much larger amounts than you could ever make in just a home kitchen. So there are bakers in there, there's a pasta sauce in there have been bread makers in there's all kinds of different really cool businesses. What did you guys like? What was being in that environment and having all these other people who are not only you can learn like baking tips from them, but you can learn business tips. You can learn marketing tips. Oh, what are you doing on social media? Like, to kind of have that shared learning environment. What did that do to take OCookieOs to the next level?
Honestly, in the beginning, it was a great space. It was an exciting space. The amenities were amazing. We didn't even know how to use those ovens when we first walked in there. I was like,
Or the
what is that?
dishwasher.
Or the dishwasher, but I think the facility was fantastic. It was well equipped. But I think it was a lot of the other members, especially in the beginning. I think it was Veg Edible, Cat B, Viva Fit, Bella, of course, were all like really up and coming sort of in the community. So those were great resources, maybe even more so than the program itself, because you were interacting with these people, especially Cat B. We used to call him uh, Chef on the Block. We call
Dear
him,
Benigno.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
We call him Cat B because whenever he would sign the sheets, it would say Cat B, because the acronym of it. But we used to call him Kitchen Uncle because if there was ever like a problem, you could go to him, and he had all the resources like this is a great place for you, like Larson's, like different places where you could buy inventory in bulk, or things that we needed. So I mean, it was great to have those resources or be like, hey, how do you do your catering or how do you do this? So it was really good to have those sort of resources, especially with those people in like Veg Edible, Stacy. I'm sure you know her.
Stacey Van Cleve. Yeah, she's
Yes.
a wonderful person.
She was kind of like our vegan taste tester at the
The vegan
time.
queen,
Yeah,
we call her.
we call her vegan queen because I'd be like, what do you mean you don't use eggs or um
How do you make this work? We don't understand it.
yeah, I'm like, what do you mean no eggs, no milk, no dairy, no this, no that? And she was like, oh, I have no allergens in my stuff. And I'm like, okay. But then, she was kind of like our taste tester, so it was like such a fun and exciting time in the beginning. But then I think we outgrew it and then more bakers came in over the years and we had to kind of shift our schedule to overnights because we couldn't really safely
Produce.
produce just as a gluten-free baker. And so we lost sort of that connection a lot with the other members because we weren't there when other people were there anymore. And, but the facility was still fantastic. And then the event, what is it that we're doing in August?
Oh, Pace Interactive.
Pace Interactive, that's like one of the best events if you get an opportunity to go to that. It's where they have like their fundraising event of the year. It's like a gala where they make the building beautiful and like all the bakers or chefs from the kitchen participate and they're on all the floors and you can tour the whole place. It's last year I think it was Harry Potter.
Yep. And this year it's gonna be Golden Hollywood.
Oh, I don't know if
Yeah.
we're supposed to say that.
Oh no, it's on their website.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Their
I'm PR trained.
Yeah. Their themes are so cool and they do such a fantastic job with like making a whimsical sort of beautiful event that involves or has everybody sort of involved in the building from the artists that are the painters. Who was the painter guy?
There was
Um,
a lot of amazing creatives and artists and stuff. I can't
the
exactly remember.
cartoonist. It's the satire cartoonist. I forgot his name.
I
Oh
can't
gosh,
say.
I can't
There's
believe
so
I'm
many
blanking.
amazing
Jeff Katurba?
Yes, him.
Boom.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I knew someone would know. So yeah, he's usually in there. The artists are in there. There's musicians. Every floor is like the whole building is like dedicated to the arts. So not just the culinary arts, but also artists and musicians. So that's always been really fun to see all the things kind of come together once a year.
Vincent, you can correct me if I'm wrong because I'm making a little bit of an assumption here, but my thinking is that when your mom first starts this business and she's getting it off the ground, you probably wanted to help her because it's like, this is my mom. She's passionate about this. I I think she needs help. I think I can be that help and I can be that for her. Now we're 5 years later and you're like fully committed. This is your job. I mean, you were in the prime of your, you know, when most people are going to college or experimenting with jobs, trying to figure out where do I fit in the world, and you have gone 10 toes down on OCookieOs. What was it about this company, your mom, this process, all of it that made you say, this is where I want to stake at least my early professional career?
That's a really good question. So during the time when my mom was doing all the trial and error and trying to figure out how to make a cookie donut and that stuff, it was like peak COVID. So I was doing online college and stuff. But since I could not work because me, my mom, and Xavier are immune compromised, I had to figure out a way to make money. So I started a business doing wholesale and like e-commerce. And I honestly, as much as I poured my heart into it, and I still do it on the side, it just wasn't very fulfilling to me. So when my mom had that idea of starting OCookieOs and making it into a legit business and owning a bakery, I put my all into it, as well as I was already like a little bit iffy about if college was really for me. I was like a sophomore and I was like, do I want to keep paying for this? What do I want to do? And I wasn't feeling very fulfilled with the business that I already had started. So I was like, let's go, because I am always a person, like all the jobs I've done, like I will say this, I've done a telemarketing job and I fell asleep on the job because it just was like there was no excitement for me. I was just like, I need a job that is going to excite me and I'm going to be excited to go to every single day. And 5 years in, I'm so excited to go to OCookieOs. I mean, there's been nights where I just can't sleep because I'm so excited. So then I'll just go back to work. That's only been a couple of times, but
That's like that's dedication right
yeah,
there, man.
that's only been a couple of times, but I mean, I do truly love what I do, and I've always wanted to be in a field or a job that I truly feel fulfilled from, and this is that job.
And the cookies wouldn't exist without Vinny. He kind of touched on it. I have fibromyalgia and a lot of other medical um previous injuries that I've dealt with, and physically there's a lot that I cannot do. And without Vinny, like he's basically the muscle, the backbone, and all of social media of OCookieOs. And without him, there would just be recipes. So I mean, he really does kind of fulfill the he. How do I say it? It's in my mind, but he actually
Brings it to fruition.
exactly he brings it to life. So yeah, without Vinny, there's no business, and he's the successor of the company. So when I can no longer do it, it will be him taking the helm.
How has your relationship as mother and son evolved since you started a business together?
Sometimes we'll have creative differences because we did get a question last week from someone that came in and was like, "Do you guys argue a lot?" And my immediate response was, "Yeah," but it wasn't like actual like arguments, but
Not
it's more like
Yeah.
we just have creative differences sometimes, but always in the end we come to a conclusion that works for both of us. But I mean, there's never been, we've had a really amazing relationship, and a lot of the time we always agree. We just have different ideas in our head and we make them work together.
I think to touch on that, we have such a mutual respect for each other. And I realize, like, what you were touching on, like, this is like his prime. I'm like, I don't want you to put all of this effort and work in during your 20s if this isn't something that, is going to provide for you in the future. Because, like you said, this is a very developmental period for him. This is a huge sacrifice. If it doesn't work out, I would be really hard to forgive myself. And I know I've understand to let go of a lot of control because I know that eventually this is going to be in the hands of any. I'm just trying to help guide the ship now, but eventually he's taking it over, and that mutual respect comes into play because I realize and he realizes that we're both just trying to make it the best that it can be. And if we have a disagreement, it's more like a well, let's talk this through. We don't really argue. I
Yeah.
don't like someone asks that, do you guys ever fight? Like, do you guys ever argue? And it's like, can't really think of arguing. I think we're just able to communicate well enough to where I can give my point and he can give his point, and then we can be like, well, what's best for the company? It's not what's best for me or what's best for you. What's going to be best for the company, the end result, and the consumer. And I think that somehow it's really worked for us because even like Cat B was like, yo, I could never work with my mom. We get that a lot, but it's like, I think that we've just always been so close, and
Mhm.
you know, I it just works for us.
Okay. Saturday, June 13th. That was your first day open after 5 years, after originally developing the recipe, after hustling at farmers markets and going into coffee shops and saying, please sell this, after baking overnights, after, going through this fiasco, taking out the protein powder and not being able to figure out the recipe and everything. Finally, after all that and so much more that I don't even know, you guys open your shop for the first time. I know there were some struggles that week of, but
Mhm.
that day, when I bring up that day, Saturday, what memory pops to the front of your mind?
That we did it.
Mhm.
I think and the little girl crying in the
Yeah, I was gonna say
car.
that was what it
That's
was
yeah,
earlier.
yeah. You guys kind of already mentioned the highlight
Yeah, I
time.
mean that was kind of the moment, like, because like you said, that everything leading up to that. I don't think either of us really slept that weekend. Did we have the market that day? I think we had the market that
We
day
did.
too. So like we had to like split ourselves up. Were you at the kitchen or was I at the kitchen?
I was at the kitchen. We were at the kitchen until like 1 or 2 in the morning the night before. And then we both went home to take naps. And then I came back to the kitchen at like 4:30 to get everything baked
Mhm.
for the grand opening. And then my mom came back and got some cookies for the market. And then her and Jax ran it. And then I got everything set up for the grand opening.
Oh, and it poured that day too, didn't it?
Yeah, we learned that there's a little crack, so sometimes it'll flood. It was not that bad at all, but I was like, wow.
Yeah, it poured that day, so we weren't sure that there was going to be as much of a turnout as we had anticipated what we baked for. Because there was a huge storm. And I remember me and his brother were at the market, me and Jax, and we were like holding our tent down because it was so windy and like there was tents being blown over. I think it was the week that all the markets ended up on the news,
Oh
like
yeah.
the Exarban market and everything like flipped over, or the art festival or something. So it was that particular day. So not only has it been a crazy week, a crazy month, a crazy 5 years, but that day, there's this huge storm, and we're like, is anyone going to show up? But actually, I think we had more people turn up
Mhm.
than we had expected. So we was able to sell out and still have a great turnout, even though at that last minute, which has kind of been the cycle that we seem to go through is like that last minute is like it's either gonna work or not gonna work. We don't know what's gonna happen. It ended up working.
You guys just like to fly really close to the sun, I think.
A
Or
little
maybe
too
you
close.
function best when you're flying close to the sun.
Pressure produces, what is it? Pressure creates poise, or poise under pressure, or something like that. I know some people say pressure creates diamonds, but I think pressure creates poise.
This might seem like kind of a crazy question considering you've finally achieved this huge goal of just moving into the brick and mortar. But the last question I want to leave you guys with is, when you look into the future of OCookieOs, you just reached this massive achievement. What do you see the future moving forward?
I'm a very firm believer in not really speaking on anything until it's like signed in stone. But I will say we have really big goals that we're trying to achieve before next year. We're gonna be hiring probably in the next month, which is exciting. We've had some part-time help, but looking at full-time employees, I mean, really just full speed at it. Everything that we can simply do for OCookieOs, we are going to do at like lightning speed.
In the simplest form, not to give too much away, is just expansion. Expanding and reaching more people, and finding new people that haven't found us yet, and sharing our recipes and our creation with as many people that have missed a cookie or a donut along, throughout their lives, that just want something good. So hopefully we can provide that to those people, and as many as we can.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully this podcast has helped introduce a couple new people to this product that makes them want to go get it. People, I'm not just like blowing hot air because they're here. My wife and I absolutely adore these. And to be clear, we don't have gluten sensitivities. Like, I'm sure, yes, this is an amazing product for someone who is missing a cookie. We can have whatever cookies we want. And these are the cookies we choose to have.
Thank you.
I was telling Vincent before we hopped on the mics, like, I decided what I was having for dinner tonight based off the fact that I wanted to like have room for the extra 300 calories so I could have a cookie for dessert. Like, that's how much we enjoy these. And I haven't had anyone tell me anything. Like, people will come back at me if I recommend something and they'll be like, I went to that restaurant. I didn't have a very good experience. No one has ever said anything cross to me about a OCookieO. It's been nothing but positive. So if you haven't tried one, whether you go to the farmer's market, whether you go to one of these coffee shops or Bodega, or please go visit the Brick-and-Mortar off 171st and Center, just try one. Just try one. And I think if you try one, you will realize that this is a very, very high quality product built by people who've worked very, very hard to create it. It's delicious. Vincent and Nicole, thank you so much for your perseverance to get through all that and keep going, and for taking the time to come on the podcast today. This is always such a pleasure to interact with you guys.
Well, thanks so much for having us on again, and with our new, basically new OCookieOs version, a new life, I suppose.
Also, if you do want to try out OCookieOs for the first time, this is coming out August 6th. So we will have cookies and cream in store. We are open on Fridays and Saturdays. And then also we'll be at Beats and Bites tomorrow.
There you go.
Fridays and Saturdays, actually Tuesday through Saturday. What are our hours?
Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 7. Saturday, 10 to 3.
All right. Perfect. Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.